going to try to throw you a really simple question. And this is mostly because I don't know if a lot of our developers may understand exactly your role. So what does your role as a head of partnerships entail on a day-to-day basis? If you can tell us a regular day, what would that be?
No day is the same. I'll put it that way. So much of what I've been trying to do here as head of partnerships is really get to know the community, who's building, and most importantly, how can I be a resource to you? How can I help you as a dApp builder and developer succeed? Let me take a step back. You think about, what am I most focused on? What am I trying to achieve here for the Midnight team? And it's really kind of things that are my North Star. I want products, be it dApps, exchanges, whatever it may be, that are going to help drive on-chain volume for Midnight at Genesis Block. Why is that important? We don't want to have a ghost chain, right? We want to have real on-chain activity. We want real dApps where people can use, and we want to show that, look, we got something special. Second, I want to have dApps or use cases that are highlighting Midnight's unique selling prop. And what is that? That is our ZK technology. I'm obviously highly biased. I think we've got some of the best ZK tech out there. Charles and team, these guys are known for having great research and development. We've got probably some of the smartest people in the Web3 industry that are working here at IO and at Midnight. And so when you summarize that, I want to drive on-chain transactions. I want dApps that are going to leverage Midnight's unique selling prop. So what does that include? That includes DEXs, right? For maybe protected swaps, NFT markets, potentially gaming, real world assets, and tokenization of assets. That's actually very, very important for things like regulated DeFi use cases, right? We're talking about healthcare. We're talking about infrastructure development tools to help other dApp builders build things. We're talking about identity, right? Self-sovereign identity is just a layup use case for things like ZKP. So a day in the life of me is, like I said, talk to a lot of partners, figure out who are going to be those companies that are going to be part of the Midnight Genesis block. And I think here's the thing I would say to people. Charles is a guy who's been in the space for a long time. He's co-founder of 2 of the top 10 blockchains in the space, Ethereum and Cardano. This guy is going to be launching his 3rd L1 blockchain. If you can see where the winds are blowing and you can see the amount of resources that are going behind it, and unfortunately, not everybody has the benefit to sit and see it through the lens that I'm seeing it, I think we're going to have one of the most exciting Genesis blocks and mainnet launches of all time. And so what I'm most focused on is how do I bring as many people to that party and be part of this success? Because ultimately, if we can have a strong launch, we can build a thriving development community, we can have a bunch of great use cases. And then from there, it's, I truly believe it's ours to lose.
I think we have at least one question, like news. I don't know if you want, you're already calling on the stage. Please go ahead and ask Ian. We do have a couple of prepared questions, but we want to make it interactive. So please, by all means.
Thank you so much. It seems like you're really on the front line of really having that onboarding and adoption for projects, products, and services that are going to drive huge amounts of traffic and traction on this blockchain coming up. I'm really excited to see how that work that you're undertaking develops, because I can see there's already a lot of momentum here. And as that momentum continues, you can only imagine now, especially with the things you mentioned about the multi-chain future and interoperability between different products and platforms, and perhaps working in partnership with other established dApps. And we have a host of fantastic apps, product services on Cardano that I think, and I'm sure you would agree, you'd be rolling out the red carpet for to get involved if the likes of MinSwap wanted to get on board, if the likes of JPEG Store wanted to get on board, if the likes of brilliant people who are really strongly aligned with our goals wanted to get involved. I do have a question, even though that rant may have led you to believe otherwise. I do have a question about your wider goals. A lot of the industries that you've spoken about wanting to get involved with, healthcare and transportation and logistics, and a lot of these industries, not so much in the United States, but UK, I can speak from personal experience, and throughout Europe, much of the developing world are quite a lot of government oversight and regulation. So as head of partnerships system, what will you be doing to engage nation states, to be engaging governance bodies, and to be engaging people who will make the decisions as to whether or not this technology can be adopted for these real, strong, trust-building partnerships that will ultimately, if you get locked in on a nation state, if you become the official solution for a product or a public service provided by a country, then this blockchain is victory is programmed, if that makes sense. So I hope that question wasn't too muddled, and love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, appreciate that. Let me just say too, kind of on the partnerships team, I am partnerships here, but there are so many people. Like, it's just me doing it, right? We've got a great team of people that are all helping to kind of deal flow, and that's the one thing I want to make sure that this is very much a team effort. Very much, so many people that are interconnected in the community and are deals all the time. Ed is our CFO, and he's got some of the names in the space that he's talking with. Hired Grace, who is joining us as a BD manager. She's helping. And, we've got Anthony, who I'm sure a lot of you know from in his podcast, and we've got Mauricio and Ekman, who is our CTO. So so many people here, and they all deserve equal credit in terms of they're helping build Midnight and make it something successful. I think you also mentioned a lot of great names. Know the guys. Going to say hello to Penny and the team over there. Over at MinSwap, and I think a lot of the space we're having active conversations with. We want them all to join Midnight. We want them to help kind of product over, and obviously Midnight's coming out of IO, right? We've got a strong affinity to everybody in the Cardano ecosystem, and we think that they can get a lot of benefits from having a level of data protection into their core product. And so, conversations are happening now, and look forward to, like I said, welcome to Midnight Genesis block. Answer your question on more the regulatory stuff, right? In the enterprise use cases in nation states.
Because I don't mean to be hard. I really want this to be a softball question, but that is the big question.
Listen, I appreciate the questions. End of the day, think of Midnight as a highway, right? We're building the highway. That is the protocol, right? And we're putting up guardrails, and we're putting up speed limit signs, and we're basically building that highway so that all kinds of use cases can come through. Now, if you think about the regulatory environment, right? Let's think of stuff like finance, right? There's KYC, there's KYB, there's different kinds of regulatory frameworks based upon where a traditional financial institution resides, right? So the rules for a hedge fund or a bank in the United States are going to be different from the rules in Singapore or from all over the world. And so ultimately, Midnight, our job is not to regulate the use cases that are being built on top of us. What our job is to do is ensure that we've built a blockchain that is functioning correctly. It has the best ZK tech out there. And ultimately, we need to build in hooks so that companies and use cases be compliant based upon their specific needs. And that's not for Midnight to define. That is for these companies to define. And so what you're saying by that, we are partnering with other regulatory type use cases. So think about a solution like chain analysis or CipherTrace or blockchain intelligence group. Ultimately, there may need to be flow of funds tracking for some of these traditional financial institutions. So we'll build in webhooks so that ultimately working with a large bank and they need to do flow of funds tracking and they're already working with CipherTrace, that's great, right? CipherTrace is owned now by MasterCard. Let's bring those parties together. Let's get them what they need to build their specific use case on Midnight. Same thing with KYC and KYB. Hedge funds may need to have a level of compliance. Now, the unique thing with KYC is that not everybody agrees on it, right? So think of it like a Venn diagram. You might have a KYC provider like LexisNexis, and you may have another KYC provider like Alloy. Ultimately, banks decide which tool they want to use. But me, as a user, if I'm signing up for a product, I may pass KYC with LexisNexis, but I may not pass it with Alloy, or vice versa. And so the reason that's important is because ultimately, the bank where I'm getting the product is going to decide which third-party vendor they want to use. So there is a lot of complexity to all this stuff. And so I say that because our goal here, if you're really thinking about what is our North Star, we want to build the great protocol. We want to build in partnerships and support for all the third-party services that these regulated industries need. And so whether that's finance, or whether that's healthcare, or oil and gas supply chains, or all of crazy things that we're right now, it's not us. It's not up to Midnight to define. It's up to us to ensure that we bring in all the proper support so that these organizations can operate correctly.
Thank you.
I hope that answered your question.
No, thank you so much for the comprehensive answer. And there are a lot of people that I'd like to ask follow-up questions. I would just ask for a point of clarification. Should be really quick. Then I'll hand over to the next question. I know I'm notorious for my trident questions, but it is a bit of a three-parter. So the approach you seem to be taking from a European perspective, is they'd like to provide all of the tools and the framework to make sure that businesses working with Midnight have the tools, resources, and capacity to be regulatory compliant, thanks to the great novel that's being built here. I think it should be quite an easy one to answer. The question that at the forward is that's a very B2B answer that you're giving, which is great. On the B2G side of things, what long term, and I'm not talking about by the time the Genesis block, I'm talking like 5-year plan here. What in the long term is the objective in order to be able to make effective, not businesses that are putting forward contracts to get government contracts, etc., but what's the plan to form those partnerships with government and with regulatory body, be able to present the technology and maybe a level of service to both developing countries to say, hey, listen, you want involved, we can solve problems cheaper, faster, more efficiently, and more securely, and centralized AWS-based solution. So it should be a really question to answer, because I know you've got a lot of experience in this space, and I really don't want to take up too much of this time. So a quick yes answer is over the next 5 years and move forwards is the vision that you have for Midnight to in one day we can hope adoption of technology by nation states.
Yes, that's the short answer. Yes, is perfect. That here? I will say that too. 5 years out, this space moves exceptionally quick. If I gave you any answer right now and said, hey, this is what we intend to do 5 years from now, I think I don't know if you could bank on that. The only reason is that technology evolves, things evolve, and obviously strategies change. This market is one of the most exciting things about it. I think the most important here is proof of execution, right? These large government use cases, right? We want to do this, but ultimately it's a sales process, and you need to build confidence with those vendors. And how do you do that? You do that through executing well. And so what's the first thing that we need to do well for, as on that team? We have to get the Genesis block live, right? We have to demonstrate these use cases, right? We need to show how smaller dApps are leveraging this technology. And, could we get, blockchain using ZKP? Good. But at the end of the day, I think the aspirations here are more than just a DeFi chain, right? They're more than just one or two enterprise use cases. It's about demonstrating how Midnight's technology is unique, that we're building a 4th generation blockchain. And most importantly, whether you're a large enterprise company or you're, a manager or, you're in the government, it's about demonstrating how we can make things better, faster, or more efficient using blockchain.
I think there was a long question or comment from Johnny 5i. You want to comment read it perhaps for?
Yeah, I was going to say, so John said, do you know, is that the first one? Yeah, because the two. First one is, do you know of any decentralized blockchains optimized for data storage, which we could collaborate with for the possibility of storing NFTs, which represent the tokenization of RWAs? This would be a huge final piece of the puzzle for tokenization of assets and the integration of DIDs regarding those assets, Oracle calling of DID, and interaction with dynamic NFTs and smart contracts. If there's nothing viable out there, is there something we could pursue in-house? You feel free to, if you want to be invited to the stage, to clarify anything or to add to it, by the way, if you would like to speak. If not, just keep writing in chat. That's also fun. I'm guessing he's asking you if you know of any blockchains that are optimized for data storage. That's probably the version of that question. And then if you do, I'll let Johnny, because he just wanted to speak because he requested, so maybe he can clarify that himself. It takes a second for them to come on stage after we invite them. There we go. Johnny, are you with us?
Hey guys.
Johnny.
Hey, yeah, you hit perfectly, Ahmed. I don't know if Ian has a question.
No, I was going to say, if I understand the question correctly, it's, there's a lot of, I think, blockchains out there that are trying to be focused specifically on decentralized file storage, right? Storage chain, and there are, others out there. Specifically in terms of, use cases on Midnight, they're called DDM, right? And they're leveraging IAGON in order to, build centralized LLMs for AI, which I think is a really cool use case, right? We all see the power of AI, and we see, you have that learnings not centralized with, OpenAI or, what is. That's a really cool use case. I think that there's been one chain out there that has specifically, won the market. At the end of the day, if you are building dApps and you're looking to build something like that on Midnight, there's a lot of great infrastructure providers that we connect you with. Mine, who's been in the Cardano community for a very long time, and they've built a lot of great tools. And so I think I would need to understand the specific use case a bit better But if that's something that you're looking to build and you need help and you need connections, I'm here to kind of intros and make your life a little bit easier in terms of helping you build up that debt.
That's awesome, Ian. Yes. What I was attempting to do is to see if you had your eye on any specific blockchain that was truly decentralized and somehow optimized for data storage so that we can tokenize real world assets. And then we could refer to those assets and gather data from them, interact with them with DIDs that'll preserve privacy. And then real estate, car dealers, any type of luxury brand that normally one would have a deed for could be tokenized and saved directly on chain as an NFT. And I thought that that would be part of a huge tool set that kind of doing, if we could offer that, possibilities of that.
I mean, assets are such a strong narrative, right? And so whether those assets are gold, whether they're tokenized securities, cars, watches, somebody the other day who was doing tokenized uranium, right? Whatever it is, I think most important when you're building out that asset class is who is the custodian, right? How are you ensuring that there's truth to that asset?
Exactly.
So, the thing you don't want to have happen is, real world asset blockchain, and I go 100 million in gold, right? And here's the tokens, and here effectively the IOUs on chain for that gold, but I'm really only sitting on 50 million worth of gold. And that's a bad place to be. So I think the source of truth there is important in terms of you're working with who the custodian is. What I will say is that one of the use cases that has come up a lot, specifically more like traditional finance, is that, and this is a two-part thing. One is using your real world asset as collateral to post a trade, right? So that ultimately, you're able to trade. ZK is so important to that because ultimately, if I am a $100 billion hedge fund and you're a $2 billion hedge fund, I want to be able to post my collateral in the form of a real world asset to execute a trade. But I don't want to expose my entire position. I don't want you knowing that I'm a $100 billion fund, you're a $2 billion fund, right? I want to be able to move, execute my trade, get in, get it done. Second part on self-sovereign IDs. Being able to ensure as a hedge fund in a regulated DeFi space that you are able to prove you are not on an OFAC list or a sanction list and that you are who you say you are important. And so you've got multiple levels, right? You may have a fund and that fund needs to go through KYC. They're not in Iran or North Korea, right? So they need to be able to prove that to the counterparty. 2, you'll have traders. Each individual trader will need to go through a level of KYC. That requires some kind of self-sovereign ID. In addition, each one of those 10 traders might have 10 wallets, right? And some of those wallets may be run by an autonomous AI agent that's executing trades on chain. And so you need to be able to even apply an identity in the form of ZKP to that agent, that AI agent, to ensure, show people, hey, this is actually working on behalf of our fund. And so being able to leverage ZK for all kinds of crazy use cases like that, I think is really, really compelling. But ultimately, if we're getting into the art space, I think that's a great space. I think it's a strong narrative. And yeah, we'd be happy to talk to you a little bit more about that.
You understand the overview perfectly. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
That's cool. I mean, like I said, let's have the conversation often. See what kind of support Midnight can to help you build that out, and hopefully be part of our Genesis.
Much, Ian.
I was going to do a quick follow-up question for you, Ian, and then I think we should ask Stephanie to join us. She has been waiting for a little bit. But really quick, you see that there are people here in the community that have some interesting ideas. Some of them may know teams or projects that could be interesting for to talk to. What would be the best way for them to get in touch with you? If they say hey, I think it would be great for the team to know. What do you think would be the best way for them to grab your attention and say hey, got 5 minutes of your time?
So I'm flexible. However, people, I'm happy to. I'm on LinkedIn. You could. Look me up, Ian Kane. I'm on Twitter at I am Ian Kane. So shoot me a DM there if you want. You could shoot me an email. You could connect with our DevRel team here in Discord and say, hey, let's email you. But I would say that we're building out a use case, right? To make the most of time and I can be a resource for you and be helpful to you is, if you've got your use case, if you with either, a proof of concept or a deck or some conceptual, hey, here's what I'm looking to do. But most importantly, hey, Ian, here's what I need from you. Here's how you can help me. That's really how I can provide the most amount of value, right? I always like to say, hey, when we leave a call, what are the next steps? What are the action items? How can I be useful? And ultimately, we want to have as many dApps as going to be live for the Genesis block. And so if I can play a small part in helping make that a reality, I'd love to do that for people.
Gnosis asks if we can share some of those links. So perhaps, well, I think you're already trying to share that. Those, if we cannot do it directly during the call, quite likely we can make it in the announcement channel. So perhaps we can do a little bit of a follow-up since we are doing like a earlier call today, and then share some of those links to get there. But worst case, you guys know that you can use the dead corner and also the feedback channels here in Discord to kind of like connect with us, and then we'll connect it with Ian if there's kind of like a need for that.
Yeah, of course.
So,
Know where I can find Twitter on X. Sorry,
listen, I still call it Twitter too. It's okay. It is my handle is just I am Ian Kane. So IAM as in mouse, IAN, and as in Nancy, KANE. And let me see. I'm sure it'd just be easier actually if I drop a link here. Diego, I don't know if you have the ability to do that. If not, I could do it as well.
Let me look for it right now, and then I'll on the chat. Stephanie, you've been waiting there quite some time. I tried to look for the correct link. Did you have something to kind of like share?
Let's see if you can hear me first.
I can.
Yeah, that's a good start. That's a start because I have issues. Hi, Ian. I'm Stephanie. I have actually sent you an email before. I didn't hear 80% of this call. I'm so sorry. So I might be repeating. You might have to repeat something if I ask you. I have sent you an email before, and since the days that's how you can put up with them. I'm very involved in the XRPL community. And recently, I have gotten Mayuka, the senior developer for Ripple, is taking it in myself and Midnight. Have you spoken to anybody else in the XRPL community? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if Mayuka can do this on her own because she is with Ripple, kind of like you guys represent IOD and stuff. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to. How can I I have some code and how to get that information? Kate have already said this to me. I think I sent you an email once and then we never finished that. And anything in the chat. So sorry.
Yeah, so I know actually XRP has come up a handful of times recently. I think, you mentioned that we have a lot of people in the community, which is great. I know Lee's been discussing it as well. I was on a call earlier today with Fami, and I know Mauricio has been kind of involved in some conversations. I'd say this at the day. The best way to do it is just email me. It's Ian, IAN.Kane, KNE, @IOHK.io. And let me know what you need and what you're to accomplish. And ultimately, if it's a very tech-heavy conversation, that's well above my knowledge level. But what I'll do is I'll learn the appropriate technical resources, whether it's engineering or product or whomever. And yeah, I mean, listen, we'd be happy to collaborate with people and figure out, what are the use cases that we can bring something really unique to market that highlights the benefits of Ripple, and then most importantly, highlights the benefit of Midnight's ZK tech.
I think from the beginning, I immediately going to work perfect for it. So I hope we can figure something out.
I love it.
Thank you. And I'm not going to take up the stage because I feel like I missed 90% of this call and I'm a little frustrated. But thanks for everything you guys do. I'll be quiet.
Well, and actually, I think most importantly, too, this call is recorded. So you didn't miss anything. I'm sure we'll post links to it and you'll be able to catch up on stuff. And listen, at the end of the day.
Yeah, they don't. Just kidding.
We could fill you in on anything you know afterwards.
Thanks for everything.
Are we okay just to be mindful of accessibility and to be respectful of people's time, as well as posting a link to this meeting? Be okay if someone posted some minutes to this meeting as well, for those who'd rather just read over it rather than watch the whole video?
I think so. I think that should be okay. Yeah, we'll sort all that out.
And actually, my other question was directed at Ian because it was for, and I don't know, the X spaces and mining. Would Midnight Team have a problem if the community's doing some space calls?
What do you mean by space calls?
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. You're
okay. So like mobile, they have Alliance. It's just the community. And they started out, which is the community was just talking about things. And they always made it very clear that they were not World Mobile. They weren't devs. They weren't, head of the World Mobile. Their community become very, very popular to where more people are going to the community calls. Now, mind you, this has been going on for a couple of years. And then the community members just talk about things, World Mobile. And then, of course, the devs will join or Mickey will come in every now and then. Charles has been there. Is this something that you would mind if we would try? If we just kind of
look, definitely, really kind of like the ask that we have with that is if perhaps you can let us know when it's going to happen. So perhaps if anyone in the team has some time, they can just listen. And if we hear something that is not correct, we can jump in and say, like, hey, no, let me add, or me kind of like add a little bit more to it. Really kind of like that's the only ask that we have. We're never going to be able to, like, outside of Discord or our own Twitter channel, never really going to be able to like police or regulate what you guys do. So if you have interest, if you have kind of like the energy to do that, by all means. So we are also kind of like aware of what's going on, that we're having like interesting conversations and take it forward. So apart from that, if you need actually anything from us, just let us know too, and then like we can take it from there.
Well, the answer I was hoping you would say, Diego. Thank you very much, and we'll figure something out. I'm a little for developers to get up on stage, and I know you guys are bound by contracts, whereas we're not. But we're not going to anything that's got anybody in trouble either, because we are. Well, for me, I feel privileged.
I think definitely everyone here at least is deeply aligned with the goals of Midnight, and people would take the to come out here if they didn't want what's best for them. That's an endeavor that you want to spearhead. I'd absolutely jump in, support that. I'd love to Twitter space with you and speculate all the really cool things that ZK proofs could do. If you want to do that platform kind of way with a regular schedule, which makes it easier for the team at Midnight to know, when might be a good opportunity to jump in, and also to have that little very, very very gentle oversight to make sure people aren't wild commitments that can't be fulfilled. Then I'd be happy to help you.
I think we can also work what you mentioned there on chat. I think it makes a lot of sense if we come together like a little bit of guidelines. That's honest. I would ask the marketing team. They are the ones that are kind of like a little bit more aware of like what is it that we're supposed to say, that we're not supposed to say. But in general, most of the time we are quite careful here in our internal channels, like I'm saying, Midnight as a whole, as a company, our external channels. So quite likely you guys know as much as we're willing to kind of like let you guys know. So you can speculate, absolutely, that's your opinion, that's your mind. Like you can make a total wish list of things we should do. So it's a yes, but be very careful. Well, not very careful. To be honest, it's like just kind of like use a little bit of sense. No, that is not as common as the word would kind of like us to believe, but a little bit careful. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. You're developers. You guys know that many times. Like the thing is that officially we will never try to promise. So because we prefer to kind of like actually deliver what we say that we are going to deliver at the time that we are going to say that we're going to deliver it. But you guys are not really bound by exactly the same rules. You have been kind of like really great as a community to build it, to kind of like have like a community grow. So we know that you guys have like the best interest for Midnight in your heart. So go with that.
NFT_responsibly.
Correct.
Hello, thank you for that. Just initially put my to come on stage and throw my hat in the ring. Stephanie, if you need any one to sort of support, even if it's just like setting up, sending them out to the same each week, stuff like that. That's a really good idea, because exactly what you just said as well by the team is that the community are not bound by the same kind of restrictions as the team would be. Even I'm a psychologist, and I'm now trying to be so careful so constantly in whether it be online or at meetups, like I just attended XRPL Amsterdam yesterday and the before. And yeah, just everyone there is, what was the word used earlier? Something aligned, deeply aligned. We're all deeply aligned with, we want to do the world a better place. And here we are collaborating in this way, cross-chain, cross everything. So definitely if you need help, I'm happy to make myself available. How can I help you? I liked that. I thought that was helpful. And yes, I am got the hangover at last day of Apex. So I'm going to mute and hopefully link in with you guys next time. Cheers.
I wanted to kind of bring the conversation back to Ian. So this is kind of like the type of conversation that you should have in the open chat channels, and I love it. Is we have kind of like Ian just for a few more minutes. I wanted to know if there's like any additional question for him. And no, I don't apologize, NFT. Like it's great. I love to see kind of like these impromptu collaborations. Like it's really good to see the community working. That we also have to be respectful with Ian's time. So if you guys don't have any other question, perhaps I would ask Ian, like, if there's anything else that he would like to share with us in like how is it that we as a community could help you too. You have said several times, like, help me, how I can help you guys. And so like, let's kind of like turn the question around and how the developer can help you in terms of building these partnerships.
I think you said it best. Help me help you. How can I do that? Here's what I will say is that much of this is it's energy, right? It's momentum, it's emotion. I think the fact that you guys are going to just run with these community calls, that's fantastic. What could come of that? I don't know. A lot of smart people together in a room, good things happen. And so, for me, I think, one of the things that I would see is that, we're on and, we're seeing cool dApps and out of nowhere, something pops up and it would be like, well, wait, who built this dApp? How did this come? How did this arrive? And people would say, hey, they're from one of these community calls that we did, many, many months ago. It wasn't even IO sanctioned. We kind of just got together and we built something cool. I think that's going to be, really rewarding, because at that point, that's when it is like truly decentralized and people are just building and kicking the tires and trying new things. Not ramble about that. How community can help me just kind of keep the energy up. Keep talks on Twitter and keep throwing new ideas out there. And most importantly, inviting people. I personally was going to make the community of people that are behind it. And so everybody who's here now, in my view, is part of something very, very special, because you're here early. You're here at the earliest days. And so you're going to get to see how we go through this evolution of moving from, public DevNet to incentivized testnet and the hackathons and the airdrop that's coming and all kinds of great stuff. And then, we're going to get to Genesis Block, and you're going to all kinds of huge enterprise use cases and main DeFi dApps and all kinds of great stuff. And I think just kind of being here now, seeing firsthand, and then being able to share that with people and say, hey, Midnight's got something really cool going on. Come on over, follow them on X, join the Discord community. That's going to be so important, because I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think Midnight has some of the best ZK tech out there. We've got a team that's been in the market for the better part of a decade, heavily focused on research and development. And I think at the end of the day, proof is in execution. And so when we can demonstrate that for people, it's going to get people excited. And at the end of the day, I'm just trying to help as many people as get to market, be part of that Genesis block, and like I said, kind of position themselves in the direction of where the winds are going to be blowing.
Excellent. It's really good, the high energy answer there. Even the chat is saying so. I've got a question for you, Ian. I think it's good for you to answer a lot of experience in the space. For someone who is new to Web3 and they want to get involved, and they may not be necessarily, a software engineer or know how to code or technical, how would you best advise them to get involved with Web3? Is it like within now in the community, or is it to pick up those skills, or how would you yourself?
That's a good question. So I would say this. If you're thinking about getting into, so take a step back. What is motivation in the space, right? And I think Chris Dixon said it best, right? You've got crypto the computer, and you've got crypto the casino. And everybody's motivations are different, right? So some people come in because Dogecoin is doing great, right? And other people come on because they just really resonate with that ethos of like decentralization and controlling, getting back information, right? And I think, social media is a great example, right? If you are not paying for the product, you are the product, right? And so there's a lot of companies right now that are building on, decentralized social networks and kind of creating that feedback loop of the individuals, not the platforms. And so I'd say first, kind of figure out, why are you getting this? What are you trying to do? We talked about this earlier in the call. So much of stuff is tribal. There's a lot of noise out there, right? So make sure if you're getting signals, make sure you're getting signals from the right people, right? Maybe X isn't always the best spot to get your information. But most importantly, if you're a builder and a developer, I would say, does blockchain make the process better, faster, more efficient, cheaper, whatever it is? If it doesn't do that, you may not need a blockchain. If it does need a blockchain, you need to be building on Midnight. It's got, it's going to have some of the smartest teams in the space. It is going, to be leveraging ZKP, which is, I believe, one of the strongest narratives. But most importantly, it's a great time to get involved because, we're coming off the Bitcoin halving. TF are getting approved. We're in, an election year here in the United States, and these things are catalysts for bringing more energy back, right? And most importantly, I think if you can, kind of connect with other people who are smart in the space, are, able to share kind of good creative idea thinking, that's important. The things too, when I joined IO, I like to be, what's the saying? If you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And I could confidently say, I am by no means the smartest person. And so there's so many smart people here that I'm constantly learning from. And so I think you got to find that network. And so people who are looking to get involved, I would say join this Discord, connect with other builders in the space. There's so many people in the Cardano community, right? And so, it might actually be a good idea. I got to think, don't hold me to this, but maybe we could actually put together a list of resources and people and kind of help play facilitator, right? Or matchmaker with people who are in new space and kind of like a quick start guide of, hey, here's how to get Midnight. Here's other cool communities. Here are other smart people, and go from there.
Excellent answer. You've won over as well. So yeah, excellent answer. Any more questions for Ian? We're on the top of the hour. I'm respectful of this time. So any final questions in the chat, or if you want to come and speak, do so now, please. Tom, I think you should be okay. I don't see anyone else typing or raising their hand. So if you want to fire that off.
Yeah, I have to resist my urge. I have to resist my urge. That's right. But I'm going to keep it really broad for this one. With partnerships, something that you really, and you told us earlier, you're going to be really towards is getting those key partnerships with, and these will be easy partnerships to get. I think we all know that here, that we're going to be on dexes, we're going to be on trading platforms, we're going to be on lending platforms, probably right out the gate. Great strength of the sidechain model that Midnight leverages. We do leverage the consensus Go1. We limit the consensus mechanism of Cardano. So slightly tough question, not too tough, but slightly tough question, right? What involvement do you feel from a partnerships perspective that we'll have with the Constitutional Committee of Cardano, the operation, IO obviously, as Midnight becomes its own organization, and with other organizations like Emergo and like Intersect? What kind of relationship do you see there, and how will those relationships really bring the betterment?
Question. And first thing I want to say, Tom, is that if you're a journalist, and we got to get you writing articles about Midnight like ASAP, right? You got to help get the word out there. I will say, so how do I think about Midnight? So obviously we're IO, right? We're still kind of effectively a product line of IO, but aspirations are that we're going to be we're going to be out of other vendors in the space. So whether it's Cardano or Arbitrum, we're going to have a dedicated, an on-chain treasury, and we'll have these other ancillary services around it, and other technology companies that are building on top of it, because ultimately you want to make it as decentralized as possible. And so ultimately, I think it's fair to say that we have preference to dApps and builders that are already in the Cardano community. But this to me is not a zero-sum game. And so I think it's important that people understand that, where we are today is not where we're going to be in the future. So much of what I'm doing is first engaging with the Cardano community. Like I was just at a consensus, and I was at an event at night with you guys. And so they threw a fantastic event, and so many of the Cardano builders were there. And so it's cool to connect with people and kind of just, ask them what they're doing with deploying dApps and how they think about stuff. More importantly, it's bringing in other people from other communities. So whether that's an EVM chain, whether it's Solana, whether it's, maybe even some of the, permission protocols that are starting to move over. Anecdotally, one of the things that I've been hearing that the permissioned consortiums don't work, right? Companies and builders that have kind of leveraged that before are real. When you have private consortiums, it actually doesn't bring a benefit. And so let me give you a quick example. I'm Bank of America, you're Wells Fargo, right? You got HSBC in there and other banks. At the end of the day, we might be in a private consortium together, but I'm still not going to give you my data. I'm not going to give you my sensitive information. So now what have you done? You've built a walled garden where there's only a couple participants. It's not heavily decentralized. And you're still not getting the benefits of blockchain. And I think everybody is towards public chains where you have true liquidity, you've got decentralization, but if you need data protection, you get the benefits of ZKP. And so the unique thing with Midnight is that we allow you to protect not only your transactional level data, but also your metadata. And so that's really important. We're doing it as an L1. And in my opinion, I think it's really important when you start talking to these traditional, traditional financial institutions or enterprise companies, they want to ensure that if they're putting sensitive metadata on chain, that there is not going to be the chance of there being data leakage. And so I think, in some cases where you may have an L2, privacy on that L2, but if it's settling up to a public L1, there's the chance of there being data leakage, if not now, potentially sometimes in the future, with the evolution of AI, who knows how aggressive attacks can be. So I share that because if you see where things are going, moving towards L1s with data protection built into the core protocol, that's really great. And if you've got some of the best tech out there, sure, we'll get the Cardano builders over here and, help them be successful, because obviously that's where, from. But more importantly, how can we help a lot of developers, EVM developers, the guys that are building on Hyperledger and R3 and all kinds of other ones, kind of realize that, hey, for certain use cases where data protection is really, really important, you should be using Midnight. And how can we make that possible? So anyway, Tom, I'm not sure if that answers your question, but that's just kind of how I think about the space, is that it is not a zero-sum game. Every chain provides a lot of different values, but if data protection is important to you, and you need to protect your transactional level data and your data, you need to be building on Midnight, no questions asked.
No, I think that answers it comprehensively in the end. Thank you so much.
Well, I think we should kind of leave it here. Clearly, there are many topics that Ian could expand on, and we would need 2 or 3 more hours just to kind of cover some of them. But we are kind of into the top of the hour, so we want to give Ian a little bit back his time, and also to kind of invite you for next week. We are also going to receive some. Well, if you guys want to share guests or topics that you would like to cover in the next few community calls, that would be amazing. Apart from that, I would really like to thank Ian for participating today. He was really generous with his time, and I think people get really excited with your answers.
There you go. I just want to say thank you very much. I feel very honored to be part of this community call. And I have one ask from everybody in the community, which is, if you're not already, you need to go follow Midnight Network on X. You need to kind of tag your friends on there. Go follow us. If you're not already signed up to our email list, sign up for that as well. That is where you get all the alpha. Everything that we have cool that we're sharing it on social first. We're sharing it on email. So make sure you're a part of that. And like I said, I appreciate the time today, guys. I appreciate the questions. It was a great conversation. Just want to reiterate, if you guys are building something cool, please reach out to me. I'm here to be useful for you. If I can't be useful for you, I will find somebody who could be useful for you. So with that, just want to say thank you all again. Great weekend. And look forward to talking with all of you again in the very near future.